Hello, and welcome to episode 32 of the Fiber Circus. It is January 31st of 2020, and I'm your host Elizabeth, coming to you from southern Indiana, where I have a hand-dyeing, machine knitting, spinning, knitting and crafting farm where we raise alpacas and Teeswater sheep. So, if you're a first-time viewer, thanks a lot for coming to the podcast, and if you're a returning viewer, thanks a lot for coming back. Everything that I talk about today will be down in the show notes, which are just down below in the down bar. And if you need to get a hold of me, my Instagram, Ravelry, and Facebook is Spotted Circus. And you can also find my website and Etsy store down in the show notes. So, sit back, relax, and hopefully you enjoy the show. So, first things first, I'm drinking a tea today. My current tea is Cranberry Dandelion Detox. There we go. And it's a rooibos tea. And it's got cranberries, dandelion root, hibiscus, oat straw, which I'd never heard of oat straw being used in a tea before, some cinnamon, some rose hips. And as you can see, it's a pretty chunky looking tea. As my husband would call it, it looks like trail mix. So that's what I'm drinking, and I'm drinking it iced in my holographic tumbler. So David's Tea has started putting out these holographic tumblers, and I am horribly in love with them. I might have a rainbow of them already, except they don't have a green yet, which I like green, so I'm waiting on that. But there's like 2 or 3 pinky purples, and there's a coral color, and there's a white, and then the ever elusive black tumbler that came out. But I'm drinking it iced, and with quite a bit of agave in it, because the cranberries in it tend to make it extremely tart, I've decided. But it's really good iced, not so awesome hot in my opinion. Another thing I really like about these tumblers is that they have both a straw that has like a holdy thing so your straw can't come out, or you can flip it up and drink this way too. And it keeps it hot and cold for a good long time. So, also I know somebody will probably ask, what am I wearing? I'm wearing my White Owl honey tea. So it's called the Honey Tea by White Owl Crochet Company, and it's just been released on Ravelry. So I'll stand up and let you get an eyeball on it. So this is my honey tea. It's a pretty simple raglan yoke style where you do a lot of increasing in here, top down, and then it goes down. I made mine roughly mid-hip length, and I have fixed my sleeves. I bound them off slightly tighter so that way they're ballooning slightly, but I think it looks alright. And the colorway is called Oilslick, and it's a reverse speckle that I dye. And on camera I can see that it's pooling right in there. I did not alternate skeins because I didn't think I really needed to. Now that I'm looking at it, it's pooling more than what I realized. But I don't think it's as visible in person. So this colorway should be up in the shop hopefully in the next week or two. I need to actually sit down and dye it. Reverse speckles take a bit more time because there's 2 or 3 processes to dye them. So keep an eye out for it. This is on my Superwash sock base, and it's Superwash and Merino and nylon. So works in progress. So I've continued to work on the Snow Fuzz Hat by Emily O'Brien, who is also known as Kitty with a Cupcake. And it's this pattern, and she's out of Kentucky. And she has a podcast called the F This Knit podcast, and it's not really F, but it's another word. If you don't like swearing, you will not like her podcast, but I really enjoy it. So last week I was right here where the backwards kitty cat is at. So I've made some pretty good progress on it. I think I'm 2 repeats into it. So this is technically the right side. However, you can also flip it inside out. And I actually like it better inside out because you can see more of the textured pattern that's going on. So I've got another 3 or 4 repeats to go. And this is being knit using my brushed Suri alpaca and silk, and then my alpaca sock base, which is a alpaca, superwash merino, and nylon, and they're both in the colorway rhubarb. And I'm knitting it on size, I think 5s. Yep, US size 5s. So the hat's making pretty good progress. It's got a nice halo because of the Suri. So it's super lightweight and warm. So making good progress so far. I'm enjoying the knit. I do have to pay somewhat attention. I'm not able to really memorize the repeats yet for some reason, but I'm getting there. And it is in my Angry Rainbow Sheet bag from Whimsy Stitches, and Rick is somebody who I've vended next to a few times now, and I like this sheet because it seems to have a slightly angry expression on its face, in my opinion. So that is my first work in progress. The next work in progress is the good old kitty couch. And in case you are not on Instagram, you should follow. If you are on Instagram, you really should be following the Kitty Couch Cal, C-A-L, Crochet Along. And this is a pattern from the 90s by Candy Clayton. You can see that was what her couch looked like. You know, blue with cushions and a little bitty sofa throw there. I'm currently knitting mine out of Red Heart Super Saver because, let's be honest, cats and acrylic will probably go better together than some other things. And it's in the Woodsy colorway. And I have finally completed the base. So, here's the bottom of the couch. Compared to my head. You can see just how big it is. Dimensions in the pattern were 18.5 by 12, I think. Mine is 20 by 14. So, obviously, I didn't do a gauge swatch. And obviously, I really don't care about the gauge because this is for my cat. So, you can see up close, it's high quality 70s colorway. And this side, you can kind of see through it a little bit more. I mean, my crochet is not as tight as what my knitting is. But you know what? It's for a cat. The cat really isn't going to care. So, this is the base so far. Cutting out the foam was interesting because I thought, oh, I'll just kind of lay down the piece and eyeball it and then cut out layers. Didn't go quite as planned, but it's squishy and I think it's going to hold the cat up. So that's all that really matters. So I'm working on that, and right now I'm working on the base section, or on the back rest. So nothing exciting to see here. I just keep repeating the same 4 rows over and over and over again. So right now, so I got to do the base, and then I've got to do the arm sections of the couch. And then there's also couch cushions. And a ruffle. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm going to do either of those. So you can see. So I'm working on this part right back here right now, and I've done this bottom section. So there's a dust ruffle. Doubtful that I'm going to do that, because that looks like a pain in the butt. And then there's these cushions. And I've heard from several other patterns, like suggestions online, that people had issues with making these fit their couch correctly. So what I may do is try to eyeball it and like not do these little sections right here and just do a flat cushion right there. Because these aren't even attached down anyway. And let's be honest, my cat's somewhat a kitten still. So she may attempt to take the couch cushions. And I don't really want that. So we will see if she's going to get cushions or not, and an Afghan. My husband seems to think that the cat deserves all those things. But he's also not the one making this right now. I had to go to another Joann's the other day because I ran out of yarn pretty quickly. That base alone took me 2 skeins of Red Heart Super Saver, which is quite a bit. So I checked several Joann's and they were all out of stock of this color. And I at least want my couch to coordinate somewhat. So I had to go to another store and I picked up the last, I think they had 4 skeins there. So I'm praying that that takes me through what it is I need. So I'm using a size I hook. And it's a 5.5mm hook. Don't know much about crochet hooks. I think it's a biggish hook. Seems biggish. So, that is the cat couch that I've been working on. So, I'm caught up to Leslie of the Knit Girls so far. Because her base is also done. Wow, that's awesome. Piece of dust. I've been cleaning in my office here recently. And I turned my ceiling fan to go in the opposite direction. And if it has any kind of fuzz built up on it, that causes all the fuzz to come off. So, I guess I'm accumulating fuzz right now. So, next project. I did some swatching for the Luminosity sweater. So this is a colorwork pattern by Tanis Grey, and it's a fingering weight sweater. And I have never done a colorwork fingering weight sweater before, but I seem to think that I should. So I started swatching. And I started off with the recommended needles right down here. And this is in my Disco Lights colorway, which, as you can see, it's a reverse speckle that just throws little tiny flecks of color within it. So this was my size. Let's see, what did I do there? So I had 1, 2, 3, 4. So how I keep track of what gauge I'm using is, you can see how I've got this row of eyelets right there. And what I do is I put as many eyelets as what size needle I just used. So this was on 4s. Then I went up to 5s, which is what was recommended. And I like the way that pattern feels, but I don't think I'm getting gauge. Then I went up to 7s. And then I attempted to do color work. So, this section right here and this section up here are both done on the exact same needles. See how much it pulled that gauge in. And I'm having some tensioning issues. So this is just kind of a practice to see, did I like how it would go? Like up in here, it's completely random. That's not a part of the pattern at all. You know, from there on down, it actually is a part of the pattern. So that, I haven't even tried to measure what gauge I'm getting right now on this. All I'm trying to do is get into the habit of carrying my color work yarns, like carrying 2 at a time and getting even stitches. It's definitely improved. So if you look down at this green and yellow section, let's see, you can see that the yellow stitches are definitely not the same size as the green stitches. But up in here, when I get into the pink and purple stitches, my tension's becoming a lot more even. And it is really hard to figure out if something is focusing when you can't see it. I've discovered. So, come on. Alright, well, you get the idea. It's getting better up here in this top section. However, I don't know that I'm necessarily getting gauge, and I'm up on size... what size am I even at now? I think I'm on size 6s. This is the problem with, yeah, size 6s. This is the issue with these needles where they print on the actual wood. I wear that off really quickly, so kind of sucks. The color, or the pattern actually calls for 11 different colors in the yoke section. So if you look at the yoke up here, they use 11 different colors in that. I'm not going to use 11 colors, because that's just too much work. So what I think I'm going to try to do is do a gradient of like yellow, green to yellow to orange to pink to blue to purple. I haven't dyed the actual things yet, but I'm planning on probably trying to match my Disco Lights colorway. So this is a project that's going to take a while, obviously, because I'm having so many problems with gauge right now. So we will see. I just am kind of practicing every now and then trying to knit. I've tried tensioning them both doing continental style, which is where I hold the 2 in my left hand and then I pick up the ones that I need. And then I've also been attempting to just carry them in different hands, where, you know, one's in one hand, one's in the other. And then I got to looking at the pattern, and none of the floats in the stitches are more than 3 stitches long, which is where you usually need to worry about catching floats. So I'm thinking about trying just picking up the color whenever I need it from my right hand and carrying them like I normally would. Part of my issue could be too that this is a pretty small in the round swatch. Technically this swatch is supposed to be 4 inches wide. This is barely hitting 3 up here, but I bet it's definitely closer to 4 down here on the bottom. So, work in progress. It's going to be long-term work in progress possibly, because it's definitely not going anywhere very fast. So, that is my swatch for Luminosity. I have the base black yarn dyed up for it, but I do not have any of the mini skeins dyed up yet. And this is in a bag that my mom gave me for Christmas, and I think that she might have made it. Maybe she didn't. She may have purchased it. I don't know. But it has the knit cuts of a lamb on it. So it's got like your sweater, your hat, your blanket, and it's got a cute little lamb pattern on the back, and it's got this little lamb hangy tag. And I don't really see any actual maker's tags in it that says that they made it. So I don't know. My mom may have actually made this. I think it's really cute. So that is the last work in progress that I'm currently working on. Finished objects, I have none. I also haven't done any machine knitting in the past 2 weeks either. I did finish up some spinning. So I was working on spinning two braids of yarn, or 2 braids of fiber that I'd dyed. One was a black merino with rainbow firestar that I call Oilslick, and then the other one is in my stained glass merino in the neon rainbow colorway. So I finished plying the 2 of them together, and then I also have a mini skein. So this is just the neon rainbow plied with itself, and there's roughly 60 some odd yards there, and it's a merino and firestar sparkly, and I think there's about 60 yards in that. And then this skein is closer to, what did I say? I think about 260-ish yards. I haven't set the yarn yet. It's pretty thick. It's pretty dense as well. For this being 8 ounces of fiber, I really should have gotten a little bit more yardage out of it, I think. But I'm guessing it's probably at least a worsted, if not an Aran weight yarn. But it's extremely sparkly. And it should glow under black light as well. So, fun spin. I do have more of this base coming in the next week, so I will be able to dye up some more of the neon rainbow, which several people have asked about. So, look for it in the shop in the next 2 weeks, probably. So, that's my spinning. I'm going to be starting some more spinning. I got in a few other bases to try out to see whether or not I like it. And this base is a South American wool with viscose neps in it. And it's actually the exact same colors. It's my neon rainbow, but with these black and gray neppy things in it. And I think that turned out really kind of fun. The black really muted down the neonness of it compared to, it's harder to tell, but let's see. I have more neon-y. So, the exact same dyes that I used in my swatch here for Luminosity. So, these same colors are these colors just on a blacker base. So, that shows just how much it mutes it down, which is kind of fun, I think. And then I also got a little bit of this blend. And it is a llama white-faced woodland wool. Rammy, which is like a plant-based fiber, and I want to say silk too. It's just a little 2-ounce piece because I wanted to spin it up and see if I liked the resulting yarn or not. So you can see the white in there, and the white is coming from the fact that there's a plant-based fiber in there, and they don't take the dye the same way that a wool-based dye does, or a wool-based product does. So I'm gonna spin that up and see if I like this blend or not. The plant fiber in it kind of turns me off, but I do like the llama that's in it, so we'll see. So that's all my spinning. Upcoming events, March 13th through the 15th is the National Alpaca Show up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'll be up there vending and doing demonstrations all weekend. There'll be between 500 and 600 alpacas up there, so you can come up and do alpaca selfies. There's probably alpaca yoga, a bunch of vendors, and you can just see a lot of really cute little interesting animals, and it's free to the public, so definitely a good time to come up. And then April 17th and 18th is the fiber event in Greencastle that I'll be vending at. It's usually cold and rainy that weekend, but I'll be warm and toasty inside, so stop by and say hi. And then June 5th and 6th I'll be at Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, which is in Franklin, Indiana, which is up closer to Indianapolis. Besides that, the other festivals that I'm going to this year, oh, what's it called? It's an Ohio Fiber Festival at Young's Dairy. I want to say Mid-Ohio, and I know that's not what it's called. There's a fiber festival, though, at Young's Dairy, and it's in September, I think. And I'll be there. And then also SAF in October out in Nashville, North Carolina. So, that's about it for upcoming events. I did have a giveaway the last time, and in order to enter the giveaway, you had to leave a comment below the video. And I had one person comment, so guess what? If you are Pause2Craft, you're a winner. So, send me an email, spottedcircusalpacas@yahoo.com, and I will get your prize-winning socks out to you. So, thanks a lot for commenting on the post. In other news, farm-wise, it's muddy still. The Koreas are growing pretty well. There's nothing real exciting. We're kind of just sitting, waiting for shearing. Excuse me. So we'll probably shear the second weekend of April is my plan so far. Because the first weekend in April I'm already committed to help at a shearing in Kentucky. So we're hoping and praying that it does not rain in April. Baby-wise, coming up, we have a girl named Annie Oakley who's due in August. And we may or may not have one or two other girls that are due in August. I'm planning on sending a bunch of girls after shearing out for some breeding. So hopefully in 2021 we'll have babies. But we should have sheep babies, I'm hoping, in May. As long as the ram figured out what he was supposed to do and did it properly. In theory, the two ewes should be bred. So Peep Sheep and Other Sheep should have baby sheep. And then we'll have to think of more sheep names. So the Other Sheep has had twins before, and Peep Sheep's never had any babies. So it'll be interesting to see what baby sheep time looks like. Otherwise, I guess that's about all the excitement I can think of. I'm sitting back in my office again. I know some of you don't like seeing all the yarn in plastic bags. In reality, when you do a lot of fiber festivals and a lot of dyeing, you've got to protect your stuff. I've had outbreaks of moths before. So, as a precaution, I now put everything in plastic. I'd much rather have my yarn be safe and in plastic than sitting out on a shelf looking pretty where moths could get to it. So, while it's not the prettiest thing in the world, they are protected at least. If you also hear some gurgling noises, I have some plants back here in my office now. I've been trying to do some cleaning out of stuff and destashing of things, and I've discovered begonias, which if you haven't seen begonias before, they're pretty wild and crazy. So let me go get one and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so I have 11 begonias right now. And they're all sitting underneath a light and underneath a humidifier as well to try to keep the humidity up for them. So, why I like begonias is they're weird. So look at that plant. This is obviously just a baby plant right now. But this is called Emerald Wave, and it's a tropical Rex begonia. Then you get some with really cool texture. So like you can see, it's really weird fuzzy leaves. And it looks warty. And that's called Jabberwocky. And then, I have one I actually got from Lowe's. And I think it's called Spitfire. And if you look at it, you can see they come in, the baby leaves are like this reddish color, I think. And I think these are the adult leaves down here. But there's a metallic sheen to them. Let's see. So they have almost an iridescent quality to them, which is kind of hard to capture. I have one over there called Pavonia, I think it is, or Pavonia, and it looks like just a normal green leaf, but when you catch the light just right, which I'm not having a great time at trying to catch, it actually reflects with a blue iridescence, which is kind of cool. So, begonias are my new excitement that I'm attempting to see if I can keep them alive and keep them happy. They do flower. So, deep down inside there, there are some teeny tiny little flowers. They're nothing that's very exciting flower-wise. They don't put out like crazy showy stuff. But let's be real. This is cool and showy to begin with. Like this emerald wave, when it grows, you can see it's growing in a spiral. So, I may do some begonia-inspired colorways at some point because there's just such crazy variety in them that they're a lot of fun. So, these are my new pets for back in here. So, I guess that's about it for this week's podcast. So, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Please hit like and subscribe so that way we can get the podcast out to more viewers and more people can see it. And there's just more excitement in general. So, from me and my begonias, have a great week.